Hello, welcome back. This is an X-sum Sudoku that I have made to help learn how to do X-sums. I'll just go through and tell you the rules and how they work first, and then if you'd like to have a go at it yourself, you can click on the link in the description below and pause the video and then come back if you have any problems. So first off, I've done these cages before. The numbers in the cages have to add to the number in the corner there. Not sure if I've done thermometers before, but they work. These are thermometers, and they work in that the number that is the smallest has to go up the bulb, and then they increase on the way out from the thermometer. So smallest number there, bigger, bigger, bigger. Bit like, you know, a thermometer increases as it goes higher in value away from the bulb. And now the new thing, the main one to learn on this one, is the X-sums. Now how they work, let's look at this one up here for example. The number outside the grid is the sum of all these cells here, depending on this number here. So let's say this number here is a 5. That means the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cells going away from that number have to add up to 28. If that was a 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cells would have to add up to 28. The vertical ones work the same way. If that was a 3, the first 3 cells would have to add to 13. Going down here, these ones have to add up to this one. The ones across on this side have to add to this one. So the good thing about these ones, if you've got a number at both ends, those ones would have to add to 21, like, well, all those ones or whatever. The ones at this end would have to add to 16. Now, because a whole row is 45, if you work out the difference between those two and what's left, you can figure out what has to be in between those two sums as well, and that could give you some good clues. So that's basically the rules. If you'd like to pause it and have a go yourself before I start, then go ahead. And I will go through the solution for you now. So the obvious first easy answer is this one here, which is 44. Because there's 45 in a row, there's got to be one left over at the other end, doesn't there? And that can only be there. And that means the first 8 cells have to sum to 44. So that was a very easy first clue. This one here is the next easiest one, is the 7. Now a 7 could be a 2 or a 3. There's 3 things that add up to 7, but that would be a 4, 2, 1 and doesn't have a 3 in it. So you can't actually have a 3 there with 3 things that add up to 7. Pardon me, so that has to be a 2 and a 5 is all that can go there. Next one, this 9 here. Now this is where I made the mistake before. I'll show you what I did actually, just so that people don't do it. 9 has to be a 2 or a 3. I'd like to thank the person that pointed out that I made this mistake too. It was very good. What I did, I put all the options in here. So if that's a 2, that could be a 7. If that's a 3, then those two have to add up to 6, and the only thing, you can't have a 5, 1, so the only 2 that can go in there is a 4, 2. But what I didn't do, I should have put all the options in here if that's a 2 as well, because that's not a definite 2, 4. What I should have done is put them in the corner as a possible 2, 4, rather than a definite. Because I then assumed that was a 4 later on when it wasn't necessarily. It turned out that it was, luckily, but it didn't have to be. So thank you for that person for pointing that out, and I'm doing another video of the correct solution because I don't like things when they're wrong because I'm a bit of a perfectionist. So hopefully I'll get this one right. So that one's a 3. If that one's a 3, then we'll see what can go in here. So if that's a 3, we can only have a 4, 2 possibility here. Now if that's a 3 and a 4, you can't get 17 there because that would have to be a 10. And if that's a 3 and a 2, you can't get 17. So 3 actually doesn't work at all. So we can eliminate that completely. Oops, wrong button, 2, 4. So that means this one has to be a 2, which means 2 plus 7 has to be 9, and then add up that cage, that has to be an 8. So now what's the next best one to look at? We could look at that one or this one, probably the 10. Let's look at the 10. In fact, let's look at this whole row actually, because 25 and 10 makes 35. That leaves 10 left over in the middle. Obviously you can't have 10 in one cell, so there's got to be at least 2 cells in the middle. 25 has to be at least 4 cells long because 7, 8 and 9 is 24. So even if you had the biggest 3 numbers in there, you'd still need another number to make 25. So that has to be 4 at least, and we have to have at least 2 cells in here to get the 10 in the middle. So that means this can't be any more than 3. So, and it can't be a 2, and obviously it's not a 1, so it has to be a 3. And that one has to be a 4, so we've got 4 cells there, 2 there, and 3 there. So this one being a 3, then if we add that up to 10, that leaves 7, which could be a 1, 6. 7 can be a 5, 2, but we can't have another 5, 2, or it could be a 3, 4. We can't have another 3, 4, because there's a 3 there. So they're the only possibilities that go with that for the 10. Now we have to remember we have 2 numbers here that add up to 10, and 4 numbers there that add up to 25. So they could be anything at this point, I think. Oh, actually we'll put the possibilities in here for this 10, because you can't have a 9, 1, because there's a 1 there already. It could be an 8, 2. You can't have a 7, 3 because the 3's there, and you can't have a 6, 4 because of the 6. So that gives us a pair there in the middle straight away, which is really good. The 8, those 2 8s tell us that that's an 8 just by normal Sudoku. So with this thermometer, the only thing after an 8 could possibly be a 9. And this one has to be a 4, 7 or a 4, 7. So that's a good start. Now next, I think what we look for another, let's look at this row where there's 2 numbers at the ends as well, because that tends to give you the best clues, I think. So 21 and 16 is 37, which leaves 8 from 45. So there has to be an 8 in the middle of whatever those ones and these ones add up to, from the 16 and the 21. So it can't be a single cell 8 because we've already got one. So it has to be those 2 because you can't use that cell. So these 2 have to add up to 8, which means that has to be a 7 and that has to be a 1. So that's a nice easy resolve for that one. Now the 16 obviously has to be because that 8 was there, that means the 16 can only go in there, and that has to be a 3. 3 and 8's 11, and 5 is 16, and then this one's 21 has to be 4, so that one has to be a 4, and these 2 are a 2, 6 pair. Okay, and what have we got left down here? 3 from 18 is 15, so they have to be, there's an 8, 7 already, so they have to be a 6, 9 pair. The only other thing that adds to 15, that leaves 1, 2, 3, a 4 in there, which was my initial assumption. Luckily was correct, but it wasn't necessarily. So once again, thank you for pointing that out earlier on. Now what else have we got in here? We have to have a 5 and a 7, and in here we need a 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now what else can we get? 5, 7 is 12, so those 2 have to add to 12. Could be 9, 3, 8, 4, which you can't have because there's an 8. 7, 5, you can't have 7, 5, that's the only 12 combinations, so that's a 3, 9 pair. We can't get this thermometer yet, that could be anything. This one here has to be a 4 or a 5. Could it be a 6? No, I think I added up 6. Whoops. The first 6 numbers, if you add them up, add to 21. So even if you had the smallest 6 numbers, 6 numbers in there, you couldn't get 20. So that can only be a 4 or a 5. What else? Oh, actually, this other little numbers outside the grid are often easy. So that could only be 2, 3, 4, something like that, to add to 13. Now it can't be a 4, can't be a 2 actually, because if that was a 2, you'd have to have 11 there to add to 13. So that one's got to be a 3. And then these 2 must add to 10, because it has to be 3 to add, because that's a 3, it has to be the first 3 cells that add to 13. So they must be 10, which can be 9, 1, can't be 8, 2, can't be 7, 3, it could be 6, 4 as well at this stage. That didn't give us anything else, I don't think. Now the 28, that's going to be, who knows how long that's going to be, that could be anything. That 9, that's got to be a 2 now, because we've got rid of the 3, and a 7. Gives us this one down here. That gives us a 7 next to the 28 now. That means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 has to add up to 28. There is 17 left to add to 45, so those 2 have to add to 17. They have to be a 9, 8 pair, which didn't help greatly, but it maybe will later on. Look at some more outside the grid. This one's 17. What's 17 from 45 is 28. So these ones have to add to 28. We've already got 21, so that has to be either a 7 there, or those two have to add to 7. Can we tell what that is at this stage? Well, yes, because look, that can't be a 2, 3 or 4. It's got to be at least a 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It can't be a 6 because we need some more numbers in here. We need a 7 or a 3, 4. Now, if it was a 3, 4, that would have to be a 4 there, and it can't be. So actually, that has to be a 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that has to be a 7. Cool. Now, what have we got in here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, not 8, 9. 6, 7, 9. Be a bit more careful. That tells us that's not a 7, that's not a 5. So that one has to be a 5. This row here, that 4 can't go there, and there's no 4s there, so that has to be a 4. That leaves 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a 6 and an 8 in there. And in this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 there. And in this one, a 1 and a 6. Okay, what now? I think we're going to have to look at this 20 here. 27's too many things to resolve there, I think, although we know it can't be 1, 2, 4. We can't get 3 for 27, can we? Because 3, 7, 8, 9 is 24. It's got to be at least 4, which means it's got to be at least 5. Could be 6, 7, can't be 8. It's obviously not 9. I don't think it can be 7, actually. Can it be 7? Because if you take 27 from 45, that's 18, which means that would have to be 9, 8. Sorry, 18. No, you can't get 18. That would have to be 9, 9. So that can't be a 7. So it's either a 5 or a 6. So it goes to there or there. Don't think I can get anything from that just at this stage. We'll go back to this 20 here. So let's put in the numbers. If that's a 4, what can we have in these squares? If that's a 4 and a 2 is 6. That leaves 14. So 14 from 20 is, hang on, did I do that right? 4 and 2 is 6, yeah, 14. Sorry, it leaves 14 in there. I've already taken it from 20, I'm an idiot. So 14 in there. So what can we have for 14? We can have a 9 and a 5, or an 8 and a 6. Now we could have 9, 5 that way with the numbers, but this thermometer restricts which way they go. So you'd have to have 5, 9, which you can't have because of the 5 there. And the same thing's going to happen with the 6, 8. You can't have 6, 8 there. You could normally have 8, 6 the other way around, but the thermometer stops you having that. So the 4 and the 2 don't work. We'll see if the 5 and the 2 work. 5 and 2 is 7. That makes 13 left in there. So 13 could be 9, 4. 4, 9 you can't have. 13 could be 8, 5. 5, 8 can't have, or it could be 6, 7. 6, 7 you can't have because there's a 7 there. So the 5 doesn't work with the 2 either, which means that is not a 2. That has to be an 8. Okay, so now we'll put the combinations in that go with 8. And I might put them in the centre now because I'm going to put all of the combinations in. So 4 and 8 is 12, which leaves 8. So what can we have for an 8? We could have a 1, no, we can't have a 1, 7 because there's a 7 there. Oh, we can't have a 1 on above the thermometer because there's already a 1 there. It's got to be at least a 2 here. So a, what was I looking for? 8. So it could be a 2, 6. That's possible. 2, 6. That could be a 3. Can't be a 3, 4 if I've already said the 4 there, actually. Can't be a 4, 4, 4, and can't be 5. There's a 5 there, can't be 5, 6. So that's all the possibilities with the 4. If it's a 5, we could have 5 and 8 is 13, we need 7. So we'd need 1 and 6. They can't have a 1 because of the thermometer. We could have 2 and 5. That works, doesn't it? Yes, 2 and 5. We could have 3. What was I doing? 13, and it's going to be 7, so it could be 3 and 4. There's also a possibility. And you can't have any others, I don't think, because 5 and if it was 4 and 5 to make 13, 4 and 3. You can't have a 3 because of that, and you can't have the 4 in front of the 3. So as soon as I try one of the other combinations, that one's going to be bigger than that one, so that can't work. You can't have a 6 and a smaller number there. So that's the only possibilities that work with that thermometer. So up in this cage here, if we take what will go with the 4, that would have to add up to 9. We can have a 1. Put them in this way, and we'll put all the possibilities in. Oops, not 1 8 there, 1 8 there. Can't have a 2. Is it that 2? Can't have a 3. Can't have 4 4. 4 5. What was I adding up to? 9. 5 4. I couldn't have another 4. 6 3. You can't have a 3. There's a 3 there and a 3 there. 7 2 I can't have, and 8 1 I can't have around the other way because there's a 1 there. So that's the only ones that go with a 4. If that was a 5, if that was a 5, 5 from 13 leaves 8, which could be a 1 and a 7. That works. Can't be a 2, can't be a 3, 5, 4. If it was a 4 and we're adding up to 8, you'd have to have another 4. Well, you can't have 2 4s in there. 5 5 you can't have. 5 6 adding up to 8 would have to be a 2, and 5 7 adding up to 8 would have to be a 1, which you can't have. So they're the only possibilities you can have with a 4 5 there. So that tells us this one has to be a 1. That was a long effort just to get one little number, but I think that one little number is going to make all the difference, because now we can't have a 1 9 pair there to make up 10, and that 4 6 pair gives us that one has to be a 5 now, and this one also can't be a 6, has to be a 9. So that resolves quite a few things. That's a 4 now, and that's 5 plus 8 is 13. This one has to add to 20. Now that we know that's 4, 9, 17, and that's a 3. Oh, whoa, all of them. Just that one. That one's a 3. That one's a 9. That one's a 3. So that's done quite a bit to help. Can we tell this one in here at this stage? We do know that these 5 have to add to 27 though. So 5 and 6 is 11, 12, 13, 14. From 27 leaves 13, so they have to add to 13. So we can have 4, 9, 7 and 6 it can't be, and 8 and 5 it can't be. So that's all that goes there, and that does give us this one is a 7. Now let's put these numbers in. We've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9 missing there. Didn't give me anything. That leaves 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 there. That's not a 7, not a 6. I've put that wrong. That's a, sorry, an 8. There's a 6 over here. No, that's not an 8. That one's got to be a 7 actually, because it's not a 3 either. So that's a 7. And 3 8 pair there. And this one has to be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You should be careful with the numbers I put in. There we go. Now what have we got from that? Not a lot. 2 6. There's no doubles or anything there, I don't think. Now there might be, but I can't see it. Oh, we've got an 8 9 pair here actually. That's not an 8. That gives us a 3 and an 8 there. That one's not a 3. It's also not a 9 because of the 8 9 pair, so that makes that a 1. That's not a 1. Anything else I can get? 2 6 3 9. Can't see anything. If there is, I'm blind, which is quite likely. Alright, what else have we got? Have I done all these? I've done that one, I've done that one, done that one. I might have to look at this one, or this cage, I think might be the next thing. Nothing else. I've got that sum there, but I can't get which way around they go from the sums. That's the only thing. That's why the cages help. So let's see what can go in here. Actually, at the top here, we've got to have a 1 6 8 9 in these 4 squares in the top row, don't we? Because there's only those four left. That's not a 6, that's not a 1 or an 8. So hopefully we can get something from this. Let's try 6 and 4 is 10. We can't have a 10 there to add to 20. 6 and 6 is 12. We'd need an 8. Oh, you can't have two numbers the same in the cages by killer Sudoku rules anyway, but even so, you can't have an 8 there. So that 6 can't work, so it's got to be a 9. Which gives us these ones, which gives us these ones, and quite a few others. So that's a 6, that's a 2, that's a 9, 4, that's a 9. Now if you wanted to make this considerably harder, you could have left all these red numbers off in the conflict checker. If you go to the settings in here, there's a conflict checker which you can turn off, but I like to leave it on to make it easier to show the video solution. 3, 9. Now what can this be? 9 and 4 is 13, that could be a 7. Or 9 and 6, 15 or a 5. It can't be a 7, it's got to be a 5. So that has to be a... Whoops, what have I done there? Oh yeah, that's right, that has to be a 6. And that has to be a 4. And this row is missing a 7. This one's missing a 2 and an 8. Anything else there that I've missed? No, I might just have to do normal Sudoku, do I, from here on in? It looks that way, okay. Oh, no, this one here, the 28. Thought there was another one that I hadn't done before. So that has to add to 28. So 11, 18, those two have to add to 10. So that can only be an 8 and a 2. That makes the whole thing a bit easier. 3, 2, in fact I'm not sure if you could do it without that. 1, 2, 3, 4 has to go there, so that one's got to be the 1, and 4, and it should all just resolve itself from here on in, hopefully. 1, 2, alright, what's missing in here? A 3, which there's a 3 there, it has to go there. 4, 5, the 5 has to go there, and a 6 left to go there. So, there we go. That was a quite tricky puzzle, a bit more tricky than I had originally intended, but I hope you enjoyed it and managed to get through it. And thank you very much to that person for pointing out my error down here in the first one. I don't like to put on videos that have errors. There's not much point showing you a solution with an error in it. So thank you once again for that, and I hope you enjoyed that video and come back for more later on. I'll see you next time.